Hey Empoweristas, it's Alex Worley and I am joined by Kazantsev, Miss America 2015 and an advocate for women's issues. So
Hi.
Awesome to finally meet you.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you too.
Yeah, so it's been about a year since you crowned the new Miss America.
Yes.
What's post Miss America life like?
It's still just as fun and crazy, just a little bit different because now I'm just Kira.
Yeah.
And that's been great.
I come from the pageant world as well, and I think it's bittersweet when you end that year because it's like, oh, that year was so amazing and it's hard to top, but at the same time it's kind of freeing and you get to ask yourself, okay, now who am I, just as Kira, just as Alex, what do I really want to do and what do I want to create? Do you feel that too?
Yeah, of course. And you know, it's a wonderful experience. You're in a different city every 2 days. You travel 20,000 miles a month. So really no one is physically equipped to handle that kind of a schedule for more than a year because it's pretty insane. It's draining, but it's the most wonderful experience. And now as I look back, I'll always look back on my year as Miss America as one of the best things that ever happened to me, one of the most positive experiences. And you kind of stop to think like, oh, well, now what?
How do I top that?
Yeah, but it teaches you a lot. You meet a ton of incredible people, and nothing comes easy, even to a former Miss America. So you have to work very, very hard to achieve the goals that you set for yourself beyond all of the Miss America experiences.
Yeah, but of course you still stand for the same issues that are important to you, and your platform when you were Miss America was to raise awareness about domestic violence, right?
Yes. So the year gives you this incredible opportunity to kind of stand on a soapbox about something that you care about, and that crown has power. People listen to what you have to say. So I got to go on tons of national shows and did media all across the country about raising awareness for domestic violence, and 1 in 4 women are affected by domestic violence, 1 in 7 men. And the list goes on of the things that people just don't realize when it comes to the issue of domestic violence. So I got to create a social media campaign. I got to travel the country visiting women's shelters and just sitting down with women and having real life conversations and listening to their stories and raising awareness about the fact that this happens to so many people regardless of race, religion, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status. It can happen to anyone, and I'm an example of that. So to show women that this happens to absolutely everyone, and this is something that hides in the darkest, deepest corners of American society. So we all have a role to play in fighting that.
So what made you decide I am going to choose domestic violence as my platform?
So this is something that I dealt with on a personal level, and when they first tell you, you have to pick a platform, I thought I'll just talk about women's empowerment and relationships and that type of stuff, and which is great. But then when I found I could really connect with people and having had some of the same experiences, I knew that was not just important to do on a pageant level or a platform level, but just in a life advocacy space. It became something that is a true passion of mine, and I still, I'm not Miss America anymore, but I still continue to travel the country and give keynote speeches and speak on the issue, and it's been the most empowering, empowerista thing that I could have possibly ever done, because it's given me an outlet to talk about something that affected my life, and I'm really proud of myself for being able to stand up on the Miss America stage and walk across it feeling confident, considering where I started. So.
Like you said, domestic violence is so common, but yet I don't think people realize it because a lot of people don't talk about it. So when you hear 1 in 4 women, it's like, where are these women? Because a lot of times these women don't talk about it, and understandably so. That it's kind of a taboo topic, and they're battling with it a lot of times in silence. So what are some of the symptoms, first of all, that domestic violence is going on?
Yeah, so there's a big stigma out there in our culture that it's something that you just brush under the rug, or from the outsider looking in, that it's none of my business. I shouldn't be involving myself in that. And what I'm trying to change is that, it is your business. The one thing that I will say is that people tend to judge women that they know are in abusive situations. So like, she's an idiot, she's stupid, why doesn't she just leave? When that's the wrong question. They should be asking, what can I do to help? A lot of times the things that you can look out for are, obviously physical marks, maybe not showing up for work, not leaving the house, little white lies, things, behavioral things that you see and you go, no, there's something not right about that. Or, only going where the abuser wants them to be, only doing what the abuser wants them to do. People are perceptive. It's really easy to pick up and to see. And it's so simple to just look at somebody and say, are you okay? What can I do for you? And to have non-judgment is key. And every woman is an expert in her own life, and there's a reason why they might be staying in that relationship, whether it's their children, whether it's choosing between homelessness and a domestic violence situation, or there might be something else that we could never even comprehend or imagine, or just the manipulation that they've been a part of and that they're living in, or just love is really hard to get away from. When you love somebody so much and they're doing something to you, you convince yourself that it's what's right. And but that's the disease that is domestic violence, and that's what abusers get off on, is that control that they have over their victims, and they know that they can control their victims by doing that. So it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to get out of. So I hope that people learn to remove the judgment from the process and just offer their eyes and ears and help.
Yeah, it's always amazing to me when, a domestic violence incident goes mainstream, is in the news, how when you go on Twitter, people can be so judgmental and so harsh to the victim.
Yeah.
And it, I think, just comes from a place of not understanding how complex it is, and there's this whole cycle, and it's not like this person's just abusive all the time. Like, they might also have a very loving side, and it gets complicated. And like you said, they're when they ask the question, like, why wouldn't you just leave, as though it's so easy.
Yeah.
Like you said, there are actually a lot of reasons, and obviously they should seek help, but there are a lot of reasons that they use to justify not leaving.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and Twitter is a monster in itself, and sometimes an abusive monster. I've dealt with lots of abuse from cyberbullying and kind of that digital, just those digital attacks that rip you apart. And Twitter is people are very quick to immediately tear somebody down, to victim blame. And it's crazy how the internet has allowed people to go online and voice their opinions no matter who it hurts. And very often it's hurting somebody that's already torn down. As mothers and fathers and daughters and family members, we have to do our best to influence those we love in a positive way. And we have to hold people accountable. If you see your kid doing something that's not right, don't let it just slip. You have to say something to them. You have to let them know that it's not okay. Or your family member or your friend or whatever it might be, say something to them that that's not how you treat a woman, or that's not how you treat a man, or let's talk about why you made that decision. People are reluctant to just have a conversation, which is really disheartening. And I would hope that people can learn to trust one another and to just talk about it. And that will lead to a lot more problems being solved, a lot less confusion, a lot less misunderstanding and miscommunication if we just talk about how are you trying to express yourself and your feelings in this situation. So society needs to adapt to being open to people's challenges and the conversations that they want to have, instead of everybody always having to suppress their emotions, and then it comes out in a really negative light in a different situation.
So do you think preventing domestic violence starts at a young age?
Absolutely. When people say anything about pageant girls negatively, I always say, well, we as a group have access to thousands and thousands of elementary schools and children, because we go and visit kids all the time. And as Miss America, I visited kids all the time. It's the bulk of the job. And I got to stand there and talk about healthy relationships and no means no, and mutual respect and self-respect. And what do you do if somebody's doing something to you that makes you uncomfortable, and how do you communicate that to an adult that you trust, whether it's a counselor, a teacher, a parent, or whatever it might be. And saying those messages in school early on, especially when it comes to anti-bullying and social media and those things that can snowball into abusive relationships, you have to be having those conversations early. I think it should be happening in elementary schools. Other people disagree and think it should happen later in middle or high school. But it's really important to just teach the fundamentals, the basics of how we treat each other as human beings. And I think that fosters a more positive society.
Yeah, I've always thought it's amazing that we master math, science, all those subjects. But then what about life skills?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you have to learn those. Yeah, you have to learn those things. You really do. And respecting others and yourself is one of those things. So I personally feel like the reason there's a lot of bullying and just meanness in general on the internet, for instance, is because we don't accept each other's differences. Like I feel like that's a core factor. Like we need to accept our own individuality, but then also accept others. What do you think is a core thing?
I think people just don't have things going on in their own lives that they are sitting around and they're bored and they're taking out their own frustrations with life on others. And you see this every day with women that don't support each other, or even with men that, oh, look at that person, they have the life that I want to have, or they're doing something that I should be doing, or I would be better at that, so I'm just going to take out my anger on that person, instead of taking responsibility for your own life and your own choices. And it's so easy to cast stones at others, but you need to look within yourself first. And it's, I've had so many times where I looked in the comments section of something I did or an interview, and it's like, it ruins your whole day.
Yeah.
Those nasty negative things about, oh, well, that's Miss America, or why, look at her makeup, or whatever, and picking you apart, or why is she wearing that? Those are the things that like burn into your brain. And even I have to remind myself that no matter what, I'm doing great in life, and no matter what happens, I am very proud of myself and happy with the things that I'm doing, and none of these negative people on the internet can take that away from me. And I always just say, they're probably sitting in a basement somewhere, and that's okay. That's their life. I'm gonna go ahead and live mine.
You even still deal with that insecurity once in a while, but obviously it sounds like you do a good job of overcoming it.
And I always struggle with moments of like, oh my God, I should have said this, I should have done that, I should have worn this. Look at this person, they're doing so much better than me, or they're getting those things. Why am I not getting those things?
Because you're human.
Yeah, because I'm a real person.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm just Kira, and I'm fine with that. And that's okay, because that's enough. And it's a very simple realization that can take your life from misery to, all right, I'm doing just fine. I'm gonna be great in life no matter what happens. And what is meant to happen is going to happen. And life has a better plan for me than I could have ever planned for myself. I'm like randomly talking to you in Bel Air and in LA.
And we're so glad you are.
Yeah, right. And like I could have been in law school right now and living in, wherever I was going to go to school. And it's just, life has taken me on a crazy journey because I've let it. And I think it's important for women and men to understand that if you just let go and let it happen, you're gonna be just fine.
So how do you get to that place? And I know that's like a really charged question, but if you could give us some insight into how you got to that place of letting go and just feeling like I am enough as I am.
I think a big part of it comes from my parents. My parents are first-generation Americans. They're immigrants from Russia. And my whole life, they've always worked so hard to give me the opportunities that I have, to just allow me to be myself, to make the choices that I've made, to get the education I wanted. And they instilled in me this innate appreciation for everything that I have around me, and that if you have the basic essentials in life, you're fine. There's so many people out there that are so have so many more challenges than we do as human beings. I work with Children's Miracle Network hospitals, and you see kids that have these just crazy challenges every single day, that they wake up and live through these challenges every single day in their families. I don't have any of those challenges. I don't have to, fight for my freedom to be able to vote, to be, those basic things. If you just take a step back and realize that we are very, very lucky. I'm very, very lucky in the things that I've been given and what I have. So it's up to me to go out and make the most of it. And that sort of outlook on life has helped me with Miss America, and now my future is just Kira.
I love it. So it really comes down to gratitude.
Yeah, gratitude and just
Perspective
and not taking things too seriously. Tomorrow is another day. I'm all about Scarlett O'Hara. Tomorrow, we will do this tomorrow. It's gonna be fine. Just relax, everybody. It's gonna be okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, lastly, what is your definition of empowerment?
Well, my definition of empowerment for me has always been just acceptance of who I am and knowing that that is unequivocally enough. And that if people don't accept that, that's their problem, it's not mine. And I can go out and do absolutely anything I want to if I set my mind to it. And that's what I do every single day. It's not easy. It will never be handed to me. It will never just happen. But I'm empowered to make it happen. And I'm really proud of myself for that.
I love it. I can totally see why you're Miss America. Such a Miss America.
I try,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let us know what your definition of empowerment is using #Empowerista, and we'll show you some social media love.
Yay.
Woo-woo.